We're going to be looking at 10 trending wide receivers from week 3. We're going to look at the news, the facts, the data to see whether or not you need to pick them up, make a trade for them, maybe even drop them or ignore them. But before we do, you need to click that subscribe button. Stop missing out on these deep dives that we're doing on the lesser known players to help you make that waiver wire pickup. We're helping you make those trades. We're also doing videos that helps you set your lineups going forward so you can win those leagues. But let's dig in. Let's look at these 10 trending wide receivers here. And today we are using the next gen stats charts to look at the routes, look at what's going on with these wide receivers. First guy we're talking about today, Tank Dell. Had a huge game this week. Had a huge game last week. We said to pick him up last week. And usually when a player goes off initially, I'm middle of the road. And I say pick him up, see what happens, see this, see that. You know what? It's time to be a little bit more aggressive with Tank Dell. He should not be on the waivers anymore. He should not be there. Don't play around with Tank Dell. Get him, play the matchups with him, see what happens. But he's produced at a big way in 2 weeks. Also, with this offense, it's important to note that they're throwing it all over the yard. There's going to be Nico Collins games. There's going to be Robert Woods games. There's going to be Tank Dell games. I would not be surprised if we see Brevin Jordan pop up and do some stuff here. The other tight end, I know we're looking at Dalton Schultz. He's getting a lot of run too, but I would not be surprised if we get random pass catchers do some things off and on throughout the year. Just this offense is moving the ball through the air. We did not predict this in the offseason. Nobody was. Everyone was saying this was going to be a slow-paced offense like me as they're trying to acclimate the rookie quarterback when you got more of a defensive-minded coaching staff, but still, Tank Dell's getting it done. CJ Stroud's getting it done. If they're behind, they're throwing it. If they're ahead, they're still throwing it. They are letting CJ Stroud work and is doing good things for these pass catchers. CJ Stroud wanted Tank Dell in the draft. They pulled the trigger in the 3rd round. They got him. He's a good playmaker. He's a smaller wide receiver. I get it. The odds are against smaller wide receivers, but he's already shown it 2 weeks in a row, and we're playing redraft, not long-term dynasty for years. We're playing redraft. We're playing the short samples here. The short samples are saying, hey, he's got a roll. He's got some juice. He is balling out right now, and this team likes to throw the football. They're airing it out. They're running 80 plays a game. We're going to have to check the numbers from this now. It averages out in the last 3 weeks, but they're moving the football. They're running a lot of plays. Tank Dell is seen a lot in this offense. Next, Jacoby Myers coming back from injury. And prior to that, huge cog in this offense. And prior to that, even in the offseason, we were saying, hey, he has been productive with the Patriots, seeing some work in the passing game, a late-round guy in previous years. This could be something here with the Raiders, and now we're doing some work. We're seeing some stuff out of Jacoby Myers catching 7 balls for 85 yards off of 12 targets. The game script dictated that, but the Raiders are going to be in a lot of game scripts that dictates this. The Raiders are going to be in some game scripts that are nasty, that they need to throw the ball. They need to really get something out of their wide receivers. Jacoby Myers are going to have some good performances. If he's on waivers, he's a guy to look at. I think he's going to be consistent. I think he's a guy you can play the matchups with. I think he's going to be getting targets on a weekly basis. I think this is a good opportunity for him. I think they're going to be slinging it his way. And we saw this prior to the injury, and now it looks like Jacoby Myers is just coming back without a beat. I think we're going to see this going forward. Next, Zay Flowers. The thing you want to notice about him, he's getting a lot of volume. He had 10 targets yesterday, a third of them on the whole team, so that's a good thing to see. He's also seeing the short to intermediate targets, so we really need to depend on Yak with him. We need him to get more deep balls. We need him to get more air yards in this offense for him to give you those boom weeks. Those are coming. Those are coming because he is a faster wide receiver. He can play the deep ball. Look at the ADOT from college. His best year was at 15. He averaged 13 throughout his career. He can do it. He's nuanced. They like to get the ball out quick. They like to use the tight end a lot. So this does not surprise me. This is a wonky offense. They run it a certain way. They lost to the Colts. We were not predicting that one at all. Nobody was. The Colts come in with the upset. So interesting game script nonetheless. But I feel like Zay Flowers, as a rookie, is doing some good things. He's doing some good things. The short targets, that's all right. He is a nuanced route runner. He can win at the top level, medium level, and the short level. That's just how he is. He's a good player. He's a guy you want on your team. Next, DJ Chark. Sneaky wide receiver on waivers right now. And every game's not going to be like this. They're playing the Seattle Seahawks. DJ Chark, deep ball guy. You're going to throw him in lineups when you got a hope and a prayer. Hope that he connects on one of those deep balls. Hope something happens for that week. For this week, for what happened, for the 86 yards and a touchdown, Seattle Seahawks have been giving yards in the air all year long. They've been getting burnt. They've been getting killed in the air. Everybody has been rolling on them. When you see a team playing against Seattle, you may want to start the wide receivers. You should start the wide receivers. Even if it's a bad week, you should be starting them. You should be starting them because they're giving yards in the air consistently because they have been getting murdered in the passing game. But DJ Chark, as a lone asset going forward, he's a deep ball guy. He's always been like that. He was like that in Detroit for the small sample. He's been like that in Jacksonville. He was like that in college. He's got speed to burn and can get the deep ball. And that means he's got that Will Fuller effect where any game he can blow up, but there will be a lot of games also where he will bust. Next, DJ Moore. And we got to talk about this guy because Justin Fields hasn't been looking good. The Bears haven't been looking good. We got 20 pass attempts on this game, 22 pass attempts actually. Not many dropbacks when you're getting killed by the Chiefs. We were expecting more dropbacks in this game because you're playing the Chiefs, and that did not happen. That did not happen. But Moore was able to do something. A touchdown, 41 yards, and 3 catches. The thing about him, he's going to be very spotty. And we think we know that. But I just want to hammer that home. He's going to be spotty. There are going to be matchups where you got to start him. This was one of them because it's the Chiefs. And they're going to run back points on you, and they're going to have to keep it up. And the Bears could not do that whatsoever. But Moore was able to get 6 targets in this game, lead the team in targets. So there's some opportunity there. But things could kick up a little bit, but he's going to be very spotty. And what I mean there, boom, bust. He's just going to be boom, bust more. And he may be more of a wide receiver 2 than a wide receiver 1 than what people are looking at for their NFL team, for the Bears, for fantasy, and that's just how things are going to shake out. And this isn't the greatest team to really put chips on. They are in horrible game script from week to week. 3 weeks in a row. Probably going to have a lot more going forward. Next to Courtland Sutton. One thing we learned about the Broncos is if the pace gets pushed on them, like we saw with the Dolphins, they're going to throw the ball. They're going to chuck it deep. And Courtland Sutton is going to be the guy soaking up the air yards, along with Marvin Mims. The thing about that, Sutton gets a lot of those targets, those deeper routes, which means you can get a decent fantasy performance out of him. So you want to watch his game scripts for when you want to start him. If he's going to be in a matchup, say against the Chiefs, because they're going to be playing the Chiefs multiple times this year, you're going to want to start him because there's going to be some opportunities in those games because it will be a higher scoring game with higher scoring output, with a faster paced play to it. If it's a game, say against the Bears, Bucks, slower paced game, you're going to really scratch your head on that one. But he can still give you production because of the deep ball. So the thing about Sutton, though, is he's got that deep ball behind him. If he brings in a couple on a slower paced game, he might be good for you. In a faster paced game, he could go nuclear. That's the thing about Sutton right now. As long as he stays healthy, because we've had health concerns on him throughout his career, he's going to get you some opportunities. Next, Garrett Wilson. We got to talk about him. Not the greatest game script as we got the Patriots here, but you start your studs nonetheless, and it did not end out the greatest for him as it was in the cards, but you still start your studs here because it's really hard to go away from that because you're getting consistent volume here. He had 9 targets. It just didn't happen. You get 9 targets every week, you're going to be one of the top wide receivers in the league in fantasy production. That's just how the cookie crumbles here. You're going to have up and down games. I look at Wilson as possibly a buy low right now, even though we got offensive woes here. We're going to have game scripts like this. 9 targets, volume. He's talented, good route runner. If you can catch him on the cheap with a back-end player, waiver wire player, something you picked up, he's a player you can sneak off of somebody else's roster if they're a little bit of a fish. if they're reactionary to just the point totals, if they're reactionary to the news media talking about the Jets, if they're reactionary to that. But he is a talented wide receiver in low volume games. He's seeing 9 targets. He's getting volume. He's getting opportunities. He's scoring touchdowns here and there. We should see some more games where he pops off a little bit. It is going to be ugly. It is going to be up and down. That is part of the game. But again, if you can catch him on the cheap, if you're in a league where people are panicking, maybe you can get some Garrett Wilson. Next, Adam Thielen. And I just wrote Adam there because that's all we need when we're playing against the Seattle Seahawks defense, because we are going to burn them night and day. And I did not need to talk about Thielen because I talked about DJ Chark, but I really want to hammer home that everybody can throw on the Seattle Seahawks defense. And even the game script depicted that as the Panthers were working their way up. But still, the Panthers have not been able to throw the ball like this. We got 14 targets to Thielen, 11 to Chark. Miles Sanders got 9. They're moving the ball through the air against the Seattle defense. Every team has done it so far. A lot of these have been pass-heavy teams, but now we see Carolina do it. You should be seeing more teams throw on Seattle. So if you're playing against the Seattle Seahawks and you got a fantasy producer on there, you're going to have to put them in your lineup. You're going to have to do it. Good or bad, because you never know what's going to happen in that matchup. Next, Amari Cooper, and I told you the Browns are going to up the passing game with Chubb out, and this was a pass funnel game with how good the Titans are against the run. And that's what happened here. We saw him get some targets. We saw him bring in some balls. He's getting some deep balls. He's getting some volume. We should expect that for the rest of the year. Elijah Moore was the player we're really looking at. That was the waiver wire get or the trade to make after the injury, not the running backs. Even though Jerome Ford was productive, you needed the running back. You needed to pick him up. But Elijah Ford, who was the huge benefactor here, 9 targets in this game, has seen a lot of volume this season, should be seeing more as we get moving along throughout the year. But I see this passing game increasing by like a few percentage points, which is going to allow these top wide receivers to have some big weeks, especially when the game script yells for it. This one did when we were going in. And Jerome Ford was used more in a passing game in this game because he was wheeled out in the slot a little bit, had that receiving touchdown. Things are looking good for the Browns. Next, Terry McLaurin. And I want to talk about him because we had 4 interceptions in this game, or at least the last time I looked at it. This game did not go out too well. It was a low-volume game. It was ugly. The Commanders couldn't keep the football. He's going to be up and down this year. There's going to be some games where the Commanders are going to be slinging the rock because they're playing from behind. It's ugly. He's going to get some targets. Or there's going to be ugly games like this where he's going to get a few targets, do some things, still getting you 10 fantasy points. But still, this is what it is. This is what it is. You're just going to have to play the matchups. You're going to hope for the best. You don't like it, maybe you can package him up, get a trade going on. Maybe there's a bigger player and him you can package together to get a bigger player that you like or something. Maybe you could do that. But he's going to be up and down all year. That's just the way it's going to crumble. There's going to be some games where he goes off. He plays well, gets you about 20 fantasy points. And then there's going to be games like this where he gets you 10. And I just wanted to hammer that home because that is what's going to be depicted by this offense. Jahan Dotson's been a bust. He's been a bust. We talked about him all offseason long because he looked good as a rookie, but things are looking good right now. Dotson needs to turn around. McLaurin needs some more volume, more opportunities, better offense, better pace, and everything else. But let's see what happens over these next few weeks. Those are 10 trendy wide receivers from week 3 that we're looking at either to trade for, to pick up off waivers, or we're looking at their scenario, their team, and seeing whether we want to stay away, pick up on the cheap, or do whatever with. But those are the trends right now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.